This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
In this world, there are heroes and there are devils. But in the kitchen of hell, the hero is the devil. Welcome to The Devil You Know. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final episode of The Devil You Know. Maybe not forever, but at least for now. Tonight's episode, Season 3, Episode 13, A New Napkin. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esther, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, welcome back. Matt prepares to cross the line as Dex becomes more dangerous than ever, and Fisk enacts his end. Sam Miller is our director tonight. Stan Lee and Bill Everett, of course, get our always useful created by credits from Marvel Comics. Drew Goddard, of course, created this whole series. Eric Olison wrote this one. Tanya Kong, our story editor, and still unsung but still beloved, our staff writer, uncredited. Okay, now this episode. Wow. We see Wilson at the start of this in his white suit, and you see him look over and see himself as a child covered in blood holding the hammer, smiling up at him. You know, it is, like, you finally made it, big guy.
That, or like, does he feel something awakening in him? Because sort of like he feels permission to be as bad as he wants to be now, you know?
Well, yeah, and I think that is sort of a part of this, because, of course, in the last episode we were discussing Vanessa.
Right.
And, Vanessa's embrace of the world that they have come into. And, we see that Wilson is planning his big day, his big unveiling. And we see everyone else making their own plans as well. We see Matt has taken Felix and rips the poor guy's, that his hip came out of the socket. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Felix's hip came out of the socket. Actually, not for nothing, Daredevil's real lucky that guy's leg held. Because you can imagine, like, the guy actually separating himself like that, But then again, Matt knows what he's doing. That's what we say. That's what we tell ourselves. Matt knows what he's doing.
Why else would he be a superhero?
Well, that's actually a great plot line in the current Daredevil comic, is that whether or not Matt may be off of his game and maybe he actually accidentally killed a guy. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good book series out there right now, Daredevil. I think it's called Daredevil Man Without Fear, which we get a nice little shout out to at the end of this episode.
Indeed.
But in the meantime, Matt is interrogating Felix, and basically he cops to some stuff and says he'll turn state's evidence, which Matt doesn't believe for a minute, but he does give him something he can use.
Whether or not he believes that he would do it is irrelevant. He doesn't think it matters.
Well, exactly.
He's like, oh, yeah. What are you going to give me, $1? Yeah. Are you going to give me $1? It's like, yeah. What do you want me to do with this?
Yeah, exactly. And in this moment, but what he does do is, as he's letting all this stuff slip, he says Nadeem and Wynn, he says, I already know these people, but who's this Julie? And I'll be honest with you, I had forgotten who Julie was.
I did too.
Yeah, Julie Bailey.
I was waiting to find out. I was like, I wonder who this Julie is.
Yes.
Right.
And
that and the other bit of information he lets out, which I didn't really pay attention to before, but I was like, oh boy, she totally implicated herself right there. Yeah, well, she put herself in a very actionable position.
Yeah, she ordered the hit because they weren't going to hit him. And again, hey, not for nothing, as you said last episode, he, Felix was like, we don't need to kill this guy.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is his own, lady wants to kill a guy. You know what? Let her. I'm gonna let everyone know that she killed a guy.
Right. That, and I think this was also like her way of asserting herself. say, do I really have any authority or not? If his second in command is telling him not to do something, if I say I want to do it, do I get to do it?
Yeah, and not for nothing. Again, much like where she undermines Poindexter last episode, where she asks if Poindexter is the new Wesley. Mm-hmm. This again is a great way to test. Okay,
right?
Do I have confidence? Is Felix the new Wesley? Because the love that Wilson had for Wesley was intense.
Well, no, I think it's even more than that. It's basically her saying, I want to be a part of your world. I want to be an actual participating member in the Enterprise, right?
Yeah.
And if he says, yes, you have control, look at all these screens. Is it just a song and dance, or do I really have some power and authority? Mm-hmm. So she's like, okay, let's see if you really mean what you say, Mr. Fisk. I'm going to order a hit. Let's see if you let it happen. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, I really do have some power here.
Yes, much to everyone's chagrin, because as we see, when Nadim's wife goes to the FBI, and, we see, they call up. And this I love, because this is really what I think makes, and again, this is what I love about Foggy in this. Foggy really believes in the system, and also believes that there are ways you do things. That, yes, it is convoluted, and yes, it is difficult, and yes, it is not as satisfying as just punching a guy in the face. But you know what? When you actually put a guy away, we're actually going to put a guy away. And, when the FBI calls and asks him to come, and Cameron's like, oh, you can't go. What if it's a trap? What if they kill you? And Foggy's like, look, I'm not going to live my life on the run. And you realize in that moment, Foggy is braver than any of them. Foggy is going to say, no, I'm going to face these guys because, you know what? Yeah, maybe they're going to kill me. I'm going to do everything in my power to live my life as the person I want to be, because I have things I can't just run away from my family and friends, and I'm not going to, and I don't want to live life on the run. And that is what he does. And of course he sees Poindexter right there, and they both know that they both know, but at the same time, Foggy goes and is everything okay back there, Mozz?
Yeah. Wait. What happened?
I don't know. Just throughout these recordings, there's been a lot of big background noises.
Really?
At one point, it sounded like you were sawing something, and I don't know if you're building something back there or what.
Oh no, I was just playing with something. I didn't realize it was catching. I was just fiddling with something for no reason. Oh damn! I didn't realize. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all very loud. But okay, but that's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay, Mozz. It's okay. Yeah. Excuse me. Just want to make sure everything's okay.
Just fidgeting with my hands. Yeah. No. I apologize.
So I was like, man, well, he's not saying anything. So.
No. I just had my little Leatherman in my hand, and I was just finding stuff to saw through while I was talking. It was just like I need to do something with my hands sometimes. So it's just sorry.
That's okay.
I thought the mic was far enough away where it wouldn't really catch.
Okay. Well, apparently you have a very good mic there.
No.
Is that a new mic, by the way? I don't know.
No.
Oh, well, you sound like a lot. You sound really good. So it's
okay,
very very loud and very very upfront. So that's a positive thing.
All right.
Anyway,
yeah. So when they're Mrs. Nadim is there, I thought that was such an intensely outrageous thing that they were doing. Like, oh, your husband, and then she's buying into it, and I was aghast. I was like, oh my god, this is so horrible.
Yeah.
And Hatley, to her credit, was pretty disgusted with herself for it too, rightly so.
Yeah. Well, of course, because Hatley is not Hatley.
There's a hand forcing her as well.
Yeah. As Hatley said, she used to have 2 children. That basically this was that it took someone murdering her child to get her to be here. And that
wow, that's a great way. That's a great point. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah,
wow.
It is really a place of being forced into these moments, and also not for nothing shows you how little loyalty Fisk has. Because when that's what you need to have loyalty, you have no real loyalty. And you can compare that to the loyalty we saw of people in the Luke Cage series, you know? When you look at like Sugar and his loyalty to Mariah, you know? Or even Shades' loyalty to Mariah.
Right.
You know, in all these cases, these are people who truly cared about the person they were working for. It wasn't about a paycheck, and it certainly wasn't about, you know, fear. You know, yeah.
But I think. I mean, he had Wesley.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just when you're operating at a much bigger, plane, I think your circle of those people is smaller.
Yeah, and that is certainly an aspect of it. I'm sure that you just can't find good help these days. But at the same time, I do think that there is a quality of it where,
for sure,
he is the king of a pit of vipers, you know, because yes, he certainly has their loyalty in the sense that he has made them so terrified to cross him. But of course, the minute someone will find the opportunity to cross him, or as we see with Poindexter in this episode, you know, once someone no longer fears they have something to lose, then suddenly all that loyalty is for nothing. And in this moment, you know, when Nadim's wife, when Seema shows Foggy the video recording, you know, you realize that how much Vanessa's plan got undone. Basically, you see how much Vanessa's choice to murder Nadim really upended everything. That everything we see from then on is sort of predicated on this. Although, to be fair, all it really took was Matt finding out about Julie.
Right.
And then contacting Poindexter to basically tell him, you know, what, you really think I killed Julie? You know, who's the one that's been manipulating Julie the entire time, you know? Right. And really puts him in there. And then this, I thought, when he tells him where the body is.
Right.
And this I thought was really neat, where they go there and there's like 4 bodies in there.
Right.
And it struck me, the reason they do that, because they had made mention about how they had just found Wynn's body. And what it is once they wrap up those bodies, they put them in cold storage so that when it's time to have someone be implicated for this murder, they put the bodies somewhere to be found. And because it's been frozen, it's now preserved, so it screws up how long it's been out there.
Oh, that's interesting. That makes so much sense, because it seemed kind of odd to me, but that makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. It's like keeping any bit of evidence. It's like keeping that champagne bottle or that gun, you know, from Luke Cage, you know. These are all the things you need, and you keep them safe and you keep them somewhere in case you need to show that one day.
Right. Now, I can't seem to recall, but did Dex have a history similar to Kingpin's in that he killed his father? Is that a thing?
No,
he didn't.
I don't believe
he just
so.
killed the coach.
He killed the coach. We don't know. Okay. I mean, honestly, he might have killed his parents, but I believe his parents died in a car accident.
Gotcha.
From what they said. And he could have caused the car accident, but I don't think he actively killed his parents. I think that his parents simply died and left him an orphan. In this iteration of the story. There are other iterations of the story, you know, in the comics where I think he may have killed his parents. Bullseye. Is he a bad guy? Yes, Bullseye is a bad guy. Yeah. Somewhere around here I have a Bullseye versus Deadpool storyline that you can track down.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Well, that was during the Dark Avengers run, and Bullseye was actually because basically Bullseye was masquerading as Hawkeye because because basically they were doing the Dark Avengers. So this is when Norman Osborn was running the Avengers, and he sort of gets all these people to put on the costumes of heroes to pretend to be his own Avengers. So, and he hired Bullseye to be Hawkeye.
That's interesting.
Yes, and he sends him out to go kill Deadpool, and Deadpool basically, as Deadpool is wont to do, has a lot of fun with the story at that point. But,
right.
What do you want to tell me, Tristan? Because that was the Venom at the time, was Matt Garrigan as the Venom. Eddie Brock was Anti-Venom at that time. Oh, yeah. Okay, yes. We're yes.
I love that. Oh, yeah. That's great that he knows that much of the history and everything. He's like, oh, wait, yeah.
Yeah, actually, later, Anti-Venom was on the Revengers, which was a team put together by Wonder Man to attack the Avengers because he was mad for being brought back from the dead again. Yeah, because people sometimes get very persnickety when you bring them back from the dead. Because Wanda was in love with him. It's always goes back to that's the Scarlet Witch. She's always trouble. Anyway.
So I love the scene where Dex comes rolling in, dressed as Daredevil, and the security guard says, "Oh boy, I think it's Daredevil." He's like, "No," he goes, "Dex." And then he turns around to Julie's corpse and says, "See, that's Lim."
Yeah,
I was like, "Wow, that's so intense." I was like, "Oh, he's so insane."
Oh, he is crazy. He is crazy as crazy is, and he certainly has completely lost it here, and basically just mows through all of Fisk's guards. Which is kind of funny because they say Daredevil is attacking Daredevil, and of course it's not Daredevil, it's Poindexter. But then you see Daredevil just walking past, not having to fight his way through. And
just a random guy in a mask. At least it's Daredevil.
Yeah, but what I love here is when he gives the toast, as because actually, well, there's the two qualities. There's first you have, Wilson and Vanessa doing their dance, and that was actually one of the things I wanted to mention at the very start of this episode where she gives him the rose. I think that's actually a reference to the character of the Rose, who I believe is actually Vanessa and Wilson's son, who at one point as an adult, because of course time being what it is in comic books, takes on the identity of the Rose to sort of take on Wilson Fisk's criminal empire and sort of tries to be a mob boss superhero kind of concept. It's interesting, but I just thought that was interesting, and I got the feeling that if they were going to do a season 4, that Vanessa would be the Rose, in Wilson's absence. But anyway, so they're dancing, and all of a sudden, Nadim's dying declaration goes viral because now it's everywhere. And and Vanessa's saying you'll fix it, you'll destroy it, just like you do everything. You will control it. And then Dex is on stage just as Daredevil, gives his toast, and then
see, I'm surprised he didn't bring Julie with him because he says, "Me and Julie wish you the best." I was like, "Oh boy, imagine if he'd have brought her with him somehow. That would have been so crazy."
Yeah, well, honestly, first off, I'm not discounting the possibility that he didn't bring her upstairs with her, but he might have had her at the table. You sit here, hon. I'll go take care of this.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna go get you something to drink.
Yeah, pretty much. But then he throws the mug, and this is one of these things I think is because clearly it's meant to be this deadly projectile microphone, which doesn't seem like something it would be at all. I mean,
It depends on the kind of force you throw it with and how good you are with it.
He is really good, but we do see we do see him. We do see later when they get into their big fight, actual things being thrown at Wilson, like sharp things, right, and them not having too much effect on him. So,
so here's the thing. Here's what I thought was interesting. His jacket is obviously fitted tactically.
Yeah.
And it's made of Kevlar or something. Because when he first throws those shards at him, they bounce off of his shoulder, his back, his arm. And then he makes it a point to put that jacket around Vanessa.
Yes.
But when he doesn't have it on, he gets pierced very easily.
Yes. But even still,
he's like, well.
Yeah, but even still, he goes on after getting pierced to deal out his own.
Oh man!
Yeah.
And my favorite scene in all of this was when he's involved in the bloody fight with Daredevil, and he's got in the throes of fistic passion, if you will, and he looks up at her like that dog bringing you a dead animal, and saying, "Aren't you proud of me?" And he looks to her with this look like everything else doesn't matter, the consequence of the situation doesn't matter. Are you happy? Or this is really me, aren't you happy to see the real me? It's just powerful.
It is, and we get this great little rolling fight here because we start off in the ballroom, of course, and I love the scene of the shield, the silver tray coming in to deflect the mic just as it's about to hit Wilson, which again is Daredevil saving Kingpin repeatedly throughout.
Right. That's what made me think he came here to kill him. Why won't he just let him die? Does he want the glory? Does he want what does he want? And I guess you find that out towards the end of the fight, but.
Yeah, and that was also, I thought, kind of the interesting question, because it is this idea that he definitely set up Poindexter, Bullseye, to go in there and just murder people. I mean, basically he knows Bullseye's not going to be subtle in this.
Right.
And so there is a very weird moral gray area in this. About, did he just unleash a wild animal in a civilian area,
Right. And is he any different than Kingpin at that point that sets Dex loose on innocent people as well?
Yeah, exactly. It is an interesting question. And it's perhaps a nice little parallel between that and the church scene, where again it's innocent people that are just at a spot. Although then again, one could also maybe argue that a lot of people have probably already started to filter out by the time that the Nadim tape plays. So really, you've got a lot of corrupt FBI agents that are getting killed. So maybe that's also how Matt's doing the math in his head on this. Or he may be saying, it's not like he has to kill these people.
Right. I mean, I just told him about it. I didn't know for sure he was, I don't.
Yeah, so it's a morally ambiguous gray area, except probably not nearly as gray as we're giving Matt credit for. But as this fight goes on, we see Hadley, I was very surprised at the very end when they said Hadley survived all that.
Well, because she only got hit in the head with the gun,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess so. No, actually, didn't he throw a knife or a fork at her?
No, because he had the gun in his hand and he shoots her, but there's no bullets left. Yeah. So as he's leaving, he throws the gun at her.
Oh, okay. So that's what that was. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes on there, and there's an interesting question about throwing things with deadly force like that. If you that. Well, actually, I think there's enough evidence that you can throw things with deadly force that are not necessarily deadly, but Usually that's a pretty top level ninja skill. So good for Bullseye to just have that naturally.
Right. And I love the
Mm-hmm.
final fight between him and Daredevil, with Kingpin and Daredevil, where he says, "You're not going to corrupt me."
Oh yeah.
And he finally, like, I wonder if he knew that all along, or did he find the answer to that confronting him finally, and was that really what he was searching for?
That's a tough question. It's entirely possible that he did go there. Well, but see, that's the thing. I think he went there because he does save King. Because, like you said, why let the man be killed by his dog? The man who beat the dog to make it a fighter now got eaten by his dog. You don't cry for the man. You don't cry for the man who. Yeah, you cry for the dog. You don't cry for the man who beat the dog when the dog eats him. And so on that level, yeah, why is Matt saying? But I think at the end of it, it was really just the fact that it wasn't. He didn't want to kill Kingpin because that, basically, or to put it more succinctly, he wanted to kill Kingpin, but he knew that didn't solve the problem.
Or did he want to get up there because he wasn't sure who he was or who he would be in that moment, and he had to get there to find out.
Yeah.
And once he knew he was capable of that sort of restraint, it sort of bought, some credibility back, and so he could believe in himself again. Maybe that's what he was going for. That's the best I can work out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that not for nothing. I think that's a very good thing. Is that he didn't know he was there to save Kingpin until he was there to save Kingpin. That up until that moment he wasn't sure if he was gonna kill him or let him live, and then he got to that point and was like, "Nah, this is who I am." And I think there's this great point that Foggy made earlier in that scene where Foggy's like, "Listen, Matt won't kill." Because he believes everyone deserves a chance at redemption, and Karen says, not Wilson Fisk, and he says, no, also Wilson Fisk, and says it's a Catholic thing, and it is. Everybody can be forgiven. It gets us into trouble sometimes, but yeah, we do hold this idea that everybody is redeemable, even when all sense should tell you this person is not redeemable. But
it's a noble idea, but I think perhaps it should be tempered by gradients.
Yes, well, yeah, we're getting there. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah, and he does get to this point, and he really gets what I think the real point of this is. He gets this triumph.
Yeah, I beat you.
Yeah. I beat you. You didn't make me become like you. You didn't make me become a monster. And
and in that moment, like, who really beat was not Daredevil at all. It was really team. And if you want to think about who beat him, was Vanessa, Nadeem, and Dexter.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that beat him. In this game, that there is better possibility in the world.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mozz. Almost everything you just said got garbled. But
So no. What I said was maybe what he was saying in that moment wasn't that he was the one that beat Fisk, because Fisk was actually bested by his own blunders and by Nadeem, which were caused by Dex and Vanessa in a sense. So those were the people that really beat him. But maybe what he means here is that you didn't beat me by, like how Batman always wants to make the Joker reform, and Joker always wants to prove how Batman could just be like him. And that was the real idealistic question that they were fighting over. And maybe in that sense, he didn't beat him because he didn't let himself get beat.
And more to the point, and that is true. But then he also walks away with a real triumph here. And you see when he takes his mask off in front of them, basically just to say, you're not going to tell anyone who I am. You're not going to come after Karen or Foggy, because if you do, I know Vanessa killed, ordered the death of Nadim, and she will be in a cell and not the cell right next to you, but in a women's prison in possibly another county, and you will never see each other again. And that is because he knows that is his weakness. And interestingly enough, as they, one of Wilson's biggest things is he uses the people you love against you. And that is exactly, in its own way, that is exactly what Matt is doing. He knows this is, and he's always known this is the one thing, the one person that Kingpin loves, and the one person that he is willing to deal over. And and I love when, he says, please let me say goodbye to my wife. And they say, did you give Mrs. Nadim the chance to do that? Or, yeah, it's like,
and honestly,
ironically, yes, they did. So,
well, kind of, I guess. But what did you make of her reactions? Like, she didn't seem that perturbed by it at all. It was like, oh yeah, he's like, let me see her. She's like, yeah, all right, see you, pals,
Yeah, well, not for nothing. Like I said, there is this aspect of it where I think if we were to get a season 4, she would be taking on the role of the Kingpin as the Rose,
while he's in prison, right?
Because hey, she legally owns half his stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that was one of my favorite aspects of that, where I kind of saw it as a reference to Spaceballs, but when they're doing the vows, and it's like, do you, do you, good, you're married, kiss her.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny.
I don't know if that was intentional, but it was just like, oh, that's like, it's just like this. Do you? The short version.
Right. No, thinking back on it now, how could it not be?
Yeah, so that was a delight there, a little bit of humor to round it all off. And we get, of course, Kingpin just going nuts on Dex there and just smashing him against the wall and breaking his back.
Yeah.
Just messing him up. But that gives us our great final closing scene where he is having his spine operated on. And,
So who's Dr. Oyama? Is he somebody
he might be. I mean, I'm not sure. He might be a guy who actually did this surgery. But, like, that's sort of, like, they fused his spine with adamantium, which they can't use at the moment here.
Right.
But that was the idea, is like like in the same way that Wolverine has an entire skeleton made of adamantium, Bullseye has his spine made of adamantium.
So he could never break his back.
Essentially, yeah. No, that's the idea.
See, I kept thinking it was going to be the doctor from Luke Cage that was doing experiments on making superheroes.
Yeah, that would have been fun, but
yeah.
But not for nothing, there's more than one crazed mad doctor experimenting on people in this world.
Fair.
To be fair,
we wouldn't have a comic book universe without it.
Well, yeah, I mean, not for it's like although it did turn out that Malice and was tied to the guy who was doing the experiments with Simpson. I feel like there was definitely a different a quality to that it should be somebody different, and and just to have someone else doing this, because that's the thing about, you live in a world. This is like the thing that people often forget. You live in a world where super science is a thing. Everyone's going to be in it. Everyone is going to be doing super science, because once you establish, what exists? Superheroes. And then everyone's going to try and figure out how to make their own, because who wouldn't,
Right.
Yes. I'm hoping if we ever get any more of these things, I just want to get someone as Man Mountain Marco. That's my dream. He's a very early proto, like, mob guy that got superpowers, but he's like So he's just like really, really strong, but he's not like he's like superhuman strength, but like really low end superhuman strength, so he can like lift like 2 or 3 tons.
Oh, come on, that's all.
That's all. Hey, that's not much in this universe, unfortunately. So I mean, it's enough if you're a bruiser and you punch people, but he basically is the guy who gets beat up by Spider-Man a lot. Anyway, yes, but Wilson does go away, and presumably to jail. And we see Blake Tower say, now we're wise to his game, and he will never, we'll be on the lookout for this kind of corruption again. So hopefully that's the case, but we'll see what happens with all of that.
One thing I gotta say, like the way they wrapped everything up into like a happy little present with a bow on it at the end had this really quality of not being believable, almost where it had to be somebody's dream. It was so perfect,
Yeah, well, basically what they had was they had everyone having a victory celebration, but then I think that's why they ended with Bullseye.
Yeah, but didn't, I don't know, maybe it was poor acting on their part, or they just took the wrong take, but it all seemed so performed as opposed to lived. Those lines seemed performed rather than lived in. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess I can see what you're saying with that. I'm not sure I 100% agree. I think that on a very...
Because it had that quality of the like the over the top, laid on thick, sort of fake happiness kind of.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're also walking away from something that was very traumatic, something that was very heavy in their lives. And now they finally, for the first time in a long time, they've gotten the chance to breathe. And they are triumphant, And, they're, maybe they could have been a little more somber, but I don't think it was the moment for that for them. Mm. It's like for at least a little while, everything has been tied up with a little bow. But of course, it never stays that way, and that I think is why we get the scene with Dexter at the end, because to say, look, it's not over. None of this is over, and Wilson Fisk is just in jail. But like I said, Vanessa's still out there.
Right. I'm looking forward to Nelson Murdoch Page.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good thing, and I like the reference to Jessica Jones there. Which is like, you're a really great investigator, and you're way more stable than Jessica Jones, which is a statement in and of itself. Because of course they do all know Jessica Jones.
Right.
Well, actually, Karen Page probably has no idea who that is. So it's like, who know what? But yeah, and that is how we end the series. The series of unfortunate events of the Daredevil. So, Mozz, until we start next week up with Just Punishments, how can people reach you?
Well, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Paz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And follow me on Twitter as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Orville, Gotham, which will be ending soon, Cloak and Dagger, which is coming back. Do so at Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEssesscr. But to the 2 E's in the middle.
Ping!
For quality. Alrighty, ladies and we have walked through this kitchen of hell with the devils on our shoulders, always keeping in mind to look for the devils we know. Good night.